Every day, we go through the motions, doing our jobs, living the new normal, and trying to keep it all together. Hi, I'm Amber Kraft, and this is the Afterthought, a podcast designed to light your internal fire as we speak with those who have been in the trenches and dug their way back out. So sit back and relax, because you're not going down this road alone anymore.
Now, Chapter 11, Networking, my favorite and only hobby. Who do I have to network with? Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jewel and I am the CEO of Intentional Media, LLC. We are a new kind of no bullshit media company located right outside of Seattle, and we manage the everyday entrepreneur, influencer, or creative dreamer. And we do it with real, no bullshit tools and techniques. We can build your website, we can manage your brand deals, and we can kick you in the ass and tell you to get creating. Amber has been my client for about 6 months now, and she is tough as nails and kicked butt, and she really wants to spend 2021 putting out content for you. If you haven't subscribed to her channel already, you're crazy. And by the way, her doing this collaboration with the one and only Savy from Savy Writes Books is amazing. This is a big deal for both of them, and the fact that Savy is amplifying her brand with collaboration and networking, and Amber is going outside of her comfort zone and kicking butt and doing this amazing podcast. So what about you? So go ahead and click subscribe to Amber's channel, and then I want you to visit Savy Writes Books YouTube channel and click subscribe, and then I need you to take action and visit us. Keep that momentum going and amplify your brand with us in 2021. Public speaking is fun? Savy, dude, I trusted you. Oh my God, no.
Happy 2021, guys. We're a couple weeks in now, and with me, I am so excited to have Savy. If you don't know her, I'm not going to gush, I swear, but if you don't know her, she has done so much. She has the Forever Home Friends and plushies and books, and then she's written her own books. And correct me if I'm wrong, you started in 2016 with your own books before the Forever Home Friends?
Yeah, I started Forever Home Friends in 2017. I had been working on writing novels farther back than that, and then I started looking into the indie publishing world and that kind of thing in 2016, and then in 2017 I started Forever Home Friends, and then I've been kind of juggling them both for a while.
So it's kind of doing it in tandem, okay. I was like, because I was trying to find the first book for Forever Home Friends, and I couldn't find like the date because you don't have them all on Amazon, more so on your website. So I was like, not sure which happened first, but so.
Yeah, the first Forever Home Friends books were Princess Allie and Smile Chewy. They came out, I released them together, and they came out in August of 2017. Okay. And then Just Me Wrigley came out in 2018, and then Kringle's Christmas came out after that, and then this year I put out The Love of Senior Dogs. So there's 5 books in the series now.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, she also came out with the hashtag Savvy Business Owner, which I read and loved, and like I said in my review, you lied, you motivated me. But I thought that was the cutest line. Like, this is not here to motivate you, and then the whole book is motivation. So, but it gives you.
Yeah, I guess if it motivated you, like, that's a good bonus. Like, I'm glad it did. I didn't want the book to, like, discourage anyone. Right. If it does motivate you, that's great. I just wanted, when I wrote the book, I wanted to make sure my focus was not on motivating people, but rather on giving, like, the full story of what I did, giving advice based on what I learned and things like that. Just because I read a lot of business books as I'm a business owner, and I find that a lot of them don't go into enough detail about what happens in those weird in-between stages. Instead, it's like every chapter is just like a little a story about something you overcome in your business, but at the end of the day, it's really more motivation, or it's really more like, I learned this broad lesson that could be applied to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And reality, I'm like, okay, but that doesn't teach me how you like first raise the initial fund to get this thing going. That doesn't teach me where you went to register your LLC. So like, I'm confused still. I guess I could just Google these things, but I know it's different for everyone. So I want to know what strategies have worked for people.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the goal. And I was like, it's not going to motivate you because I'm not going to spend time like trying to tell you stories of self-confidence or and I just read so many business books targeted at women that were talking about like, oh, here's how I balanced being a business owner and a parent, or like, here's how I overcame judgment from other moms or whatever. It's like, I don't have kids, and like, if someone runs a business and does have kids, for people who can do that, I'm in awe of you. Like, that's fantastic. But it's just not helpful to me because I'm like, this isn't going to teach me anything business related. So that's kind of where I was coming from with it.
Well, and coming from being a single mother, those books are being a mom and reading those books too, like, everybody is different, every situation's different. So it's kind of like with the writing, like, that might be great for you, but you're a writer and a mom, not a full-time job plus a mom plus trying to juggle the writing. Like, so it's kind of like with the writing, there's never a set way you can do it, or whether it's right or wrong. So I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that's
the hard thing about giving, like, life advice as opposed to business advice. Because, like, I can write a business book and tell you, here's what I did to find my target audience. Here's what I did to raise my initial money. I'll take you through it in detail. I'll tell you what I learned, what might work for you, some potential advice. You can try it. But I can't tell you, like, how to live your life. I can't tell you how to balance your family and your job. Because, like, everybody has such a specific, unique situation. Like, I don't think anyone could tell anyone how to do that. Everyone's got to find their own way with that, I think, to an extent. Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely, life itself is a juggle. So every time you add something, your juggle's not going to be the same. It's just not. And like, when you're talking about raising the funds and things like that, like, yeah, you're right. That's never, they tell you how to write, or they tell you how they did the marketing, but they never go into enough detail. This is how I did it from the beginning. It's like they take you from steps 10 through 20, not 1 through 10. And that's what I loved about your book. It's like, this is how I did it.
Because it's like, a lot of books I read are either very, like, they like skip a step. It's like, it starts off like so basic, like, oh, your business, you don't even have the idea for it yet, or you don't even have your mission statement yet. Like, you're barely conceptualizing it. And then it jumps straight from there to like, okay, now you have multiple employees and 20 clients. It's like, whoa, what happened in between? I need that. That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's like getting the first 10 pages and the last 10 pages and expecting somebody to understand the story. It's not
exactly. Yeah, I know in this book, I spent, like, my chapter I wrote on crowdfunding and running a Kickstarter is like 30 pages long. It's way unbalanced. It's the longest chapter in the book, but I'm like, I wouldn't have had money to start this business if I didn't launch it on Kickstarter. So I'm going to tell you guys, like, here's how I set up my page. Here's how I connected with an audience for it. Here are the different tactics I tried to drive traffic to the Kickstarter page to get people to notice it, all of that. Because when I was running it, I was totally lost. I was trying to figure it out and strategizing as I went along. So it can definitely be a stressful process.
Well, and I like that even for me, who already has their LLC and already has a couple books, like, there was still stuff in it for me because, like I said, I want to create other things, and I want to create the jewelry for stuff for my books, and I want to create this little, themed box and stuff. So, like, there were still aspects of it that I learned that were, okay, well, this is less I have to research, because just trying to find my LLC was like, how to do it was in itself a big can of worms. So you take that and help us not have to make 20 steps. So I like that.
Well, I'm glad. And that's cool that you want to do jewelry with your books. I think that's such a cool idea. I love that.
Yeah, because my books are space themed. So I want to do, book 1 is all about southern Mississippi, and book 2 is in the woods. So, and then in book 4, you start getting into the actual world building of space. So I want to do stuff like that. So it was really helpful to see how, because I was like, there's no way I can create all this stuff. And then I look at you and you created all those stuffed animals. And I'm like, okay, how does this work? How did she get from I'm just creating a few to the books to, when I was on your launch party, we were talking about, doing 200 to 300 at once and stuff. And I was like, I don't even know where to begin to research all that. Like, I want to do enamel pins, and it's taken me 6 months of research just to figure that out. So
it was fun when I found because for the stuffed animals, and I talk about this in the book, the stuffed animals were a whole journey in themselves because, I was new to, I'm not a toy manufacturer. I mean, now that I have a 3D printer and I've gotten into 3D modeling, I have gotten into building my own toys a little more and things like that. But my mom is good at sewing, so we were going into this like, all right, my mom's going to design some sewing patterns. She's going to design some stuffed animals. We're going to hand make these and put them out with the book. And then it's like, we're 60 orders in. Like, we cannot hand make these anymore. This is ridiculous. Our hands are going to fall off. So then I'm like, all right, now I need to find a manufacturer. How do I even go about that? And then having gone to like writer events, I had this lady reach out to me who had gotten my business card at a writing event, and she's like, I heard that you are an author with a book series who's looking to get a stuffed animal manufacturer. Well, I'm an author with a stuffed animal series who's looking to figure out book publishing. So It's like, oh wow, that's perfect. We can talk to each other to help each other through this. So we had some calls and talked about that, and then she introduced me to her stuffed animal manufacturer, which produced in I guess small of quantities as you're going to be able to get at that kind of price. So that was useful. So just a lot of things like that. Yeah.
So because we are in COVID and there's not as many things we can actually physically go to, how important was networking at the physical events for you in the beginning?
I would say it was pretty important just because, like, I didn't have much of an internet presence when this started. Like, I had social media pages, but they were really just, like, to talk to friends and stuff like that. Yeah. So I didn't really know how people got attention on the internet. Like, I was just, like, it was such a weird animal to me. And I wrote about that in the book, too, because I'm like, how does this happen? Like, how do people gain these internet followings? I'm so lost. So, yeah, going to physical events was a huge thing for me because I love talking to people one-on-one. I feel like I can connect to people, like if they're walking by my booth. I've never been a very shy person, so if someone's walking by, I'm like, hey, come check this out. Let's talk. And so that's always been where my strong point was. And it's just like, because I never liked to spend much time just sitting at my desk or, working by myself, because of that, I had never delved into the way to develop an internet social media presence until I found the booktube community. And then I was like, oh, this might be a thing I can do, because I was making videos to go with my products. Like, I was making like, oh, here's a video of me unboxing my book proofs, here's a video of me showing the process for the cover for this, or here's my Kickstarter video. I would make that. And like, I loved making videos already.
Yeah.
So it was like, I should really do this on YouTube and maybe get to know, like, try some online networking kind of thing. And from there, so I created my YouTube channel, and in winter of 2018, I really started to work on it and get involved in the AuthorTube world and the BookTube world. And then I started making some videos that were related to that, about like small business owner life and things like that. And yeah, growing my YouTube channel was a ton of work. I mean, it still is a ton of work. I spend so much time on videos, but it's been worth it because I like making videos. And yeah, and I feel like it gets engagement, like it gets people talking in the comments. I get to meeting you and getting to have conversations with you. And then when COVID hit, it's like, okay, now this channel is kind of the only way that I'm getting to have like these connections with other people. So I'm glad it's here. And it's really, so it's been a weird year.
And it's so funny because, like, I've been watching you for a long time, and I was still a small YouTuber as well. So it was like, all right, well, I feel like if we were neighbors, like, we're so much alike, but then I like to feel like I'm more confident than I probably actually am, because you just saying, hey, come look at my booth, I'd just be like, okay, notice me. Notice me. I'm not saying nothing. Like,
it is awkward. I will tell you, it's awkward. Like, even for me, it's awkward. I think my mom's even like less awkward than I am when it comes to this, because like to an extent, like sometimes I would just like, stand at the booth, and it's like, I would be like, okay, if the person makes eye contact, then I'll say hey and call them over. But my mom would be like, if they're walking by even in like a foot radius, she would just be like, hey, books about dogs, come here, and stuff like that. And so I eventually like started getting into that. And then like by the time I was at my most recent convention, every time somebody walked by, I would be like, hey, I've got books based on real rescue dogs. If you're a dog person, you want to check out this table. And like, some people are not into it, some people are into it, but either way, like, you got someone's attention, and that's the only way. Yeah.
I feel like, as much as I like to portray that I'm an extrovert, if I don't know you, I am such an introvert. It took me doing this podcast for me to feel like confident talking to even someone like you who has a bigger platform, because I'm like, I like her and I know her, and if I reach out, she's just gonna say no because she's so much bigger than me.
No, not at all.
I know that's not you, but it's like, that's my internal argument.
Oh, sorry, my headphones unplugged. 1 second. I think it's weird that people think I have a big platform, because I'm like, I don't know. I guess everything's relative. When I first started YouTube, I had 40 subscribers for a while, and I was like, how do I even grow this thing? And they were all from this video I made about my boobs, so they were not even good faith subscribers. And so I did this. So I had that, and I'd have friends who had 200 subscribers. I'd be like, how do you have so many? How have you grown so huge? And now I'm like, I don't know. I see, I have some friends who have 50,000 subscribers or something, and I'll be like, how did you get so big? I'm so jealous. But I don't know.
I think you came up to my recommended. You were right around 1,000, and I was still at 100, something like that. I was still really small, and I was like, okay, I like this person. And you never know, though, especially online, if their internet presence is who they are in life. So, you're big and you're bubbly and very inclusive, and I don't know, I'm so small, and, that internal debate started happening, and so then I reached out for your book launch. I was like, I would love to, just chat with you and actually be on, and
yeah!
And you were like,
I was glad you reached out, too, because, I had scheduled people to be on the launch, and someone wasn't able to make it, and I was like, oh, I hope I can have more people on the launch. And then you reached out. I'm like, oh my god, this is perfect. So I was so happy to have you on my book launch stream. That was so fun.
And I mean, like I said, since I feel like, I'm only on my technically second book out and everything, so I still feel like I'm really small, and I'm looking up to people like you who've already done the things I want to do, and I'm like, I want to be their friend. I don't want to think that you don't want them to think I want them just for, the information they're going to give. But, it's you bring so much reading that book to help people along and make their journey a little bit easier. And that is such a blessing to somebody like me who, like I said, I know a little bit, but I don't know the steps, or I'm afraid of taking that next step with a Kickstarter and putting myself out there. And I feel like as COVID eventually goes away and we all get out there, I feel like we're going to all be so recluse that we're afraid to be who we were before, or show who we've become and grown through it. So I'm really glad that came out. And then you were able to work with your mom and get all the stuffed animals going and everything. So that gives me hope for somebody like me who has the dreams, and I'm living in a little camper right now, so there's not enough room to do all this stuff. But when I move and I get the space, it's all right, now I've got a plan, and Savy's helped me do it quicker and know where I'm going. And
I'm so glad.
From a small person to someone who's done it, I thoroughly thank you. And I hope.
Well, I'm so glad that the book was helpful to you. That means a lot knowing that, because this was the first nonfiction book that I put out, and I'm I hope this does help people. I'm gonna tell people what I did. I hope it helps. I hope that someone's not gonna read it and be this advice was terrible and my business failed and it's all your fault. I'm so glad that it's been helpful so far.
Well, and you said, everybody gives you some steps, and they give you the middle step on, and so for people who are trying to figure it out, it's that's great, I know how to get to that part, but what about all the before? And you're afraid to ask people for help, you asking your mom to help do the sewing and stuff. My mom knows how to sew. I don't think I'd ever ask her for help, be you're busy, I'm not gonna ask, this is my thing, I don't want to bother you with it. But that's amazing that she was able to help you with that.
Yeah, she's been fantastic. And I guess in terms of we were saying about how people are on YouTube, is that how they are in real life? For me, I will say that, yes, the way I am on YouTube is exactly the same way as I behave in real life, and to an extent, I think it's more, like, I'm glad I have a channel because it's more acceptable to behave the way I do on YouTube. In real life, people are always like, you're too loud, you need to be quiet, you are indoors. And this has been like a problem childhood through adulthood, and still I'm like going to be 30 in 2 years and I'm still having trouble with the inside voice.
Dude, I'm 35 and it's the same way. Like, I don't know quiet.
That's how it is. So it's like, I'm glad on YouTube people can be like, oh, your energy is so entertaining. It's like through the internet, then yeah, the energy translates. That's good. Because in person, sometimes people are like, you are a lot and I need a break from you.
Yeah. Like right now, I'm the only one at my job keeping it going, and so I'm even more loud and crazy, and I'm dancing to music in the warehouse and things like that. And I'm like,
yeah,
when people come back to work, I'm not gonna know how to go into my own little bubble.
Yeah, I think the internet's been a good place for this, which is great. I'm glad that these communities have existed right now because, the beginning of the pandemic, as an extrovert, it was like I was not having it. It was hard. Like I knew to not do things. I mean, I haven't seen people since like March. It's like the safety of everyone comes first, obviously, but it's like mentally it's been difficult because I'm like, working from home, being at home all day. Like normally I would, even if I was working on something from home, I would go out in public and do it just because the additional social interaction is what gets me energized. And now I was just like, I'm depressed. I'm losing motivation for everything. But yeah, YouTube and the internet and stuff has been really helpful.
Yeah, it would be nothing for me to go to any fast food place to work or something just to have that noise around me and stuff, even though I'm the introvert. Like, I love hearing all that and being around people and getting their energy. So I love that you are the same as me. Like, you're who you are is who you get, whether it's online or in person or anything. Now you had the Making of a Small Town Beauty King before you started the Forever Home Friends, and that's a novella. Now you have one final vinyl coming out. Is it already came out?
That one's already out.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out a couple months ago.
I was thinking it was 2021. I must have wrote that down wrong. Okay, so what is coming out?
It's all good.
What is coming out 2021? Because you were talking about it the other night.
Yeah, so 2021, the one thing that is scheduled definitely is 90s Kids. That is a YA novel, and that is coming out in June. And that's going to be coming out with a small press. So it's my first like traditional publishing experience, which will be fun to try something new. I'm working on other books. Like I don't have any other ones. Like that one is finished and revised and like with an editor and that's ready to go. Other than that, during NaNoWriMo, my friend RK Gold and I started co-writing a novel called Cancel Sean Boston, which is about, it's kind of like a parody of internet drama and cancel culture and things like that. Like we manufactured internet drama in this book to like kind of make fun, I guess, because it's like everybody in the pandemic, we're so invested in like the online world right now. So it's kind of about social media influencers getting in some drama and things like that that they didn't expect to get thrown into. So that's a book that we're hoping to put out in the second half of 2021 because we're still working on, like for NaNoWriMo, we got the first 50,000 words written, and now we're trying to finish up the book. We're close to the end, so we're almost done with the first draft of that. And then the other thing is I'm doing a video about this on Tuesday, but I'm going to be trying to write. I'm going to try writing romance novels because I've been so invested in holiday romances, like Christmas romances and things like that. So I'm starting to work on like maybe trying that and seeing if I can do some like fast release stuff in 2021 for Christmas. But we'll see. We'll see if that pans out. Yeah, so that's what's planned right now. But 90s Kids is the only one that's like currently with an editor and has a set release date and things like that. So definitely that book. And then the other ones don't have set dates yet, but still, it's still being worked on. Yeah.
So do you have any of the Forever Home books ready for 2021?
I have a draft that I've been working on. The hard thing is right now, I don't know if I'm going to release a new character next year. I want to, I hope I can. The problem is that, like, whenever I release a new character, I need to have a large sum of money. I got to put down the deposit for the bulk order of the new stuffed animals. I've got to, order the first run of the books. It's like I got to I have to put in the money to get the character launched in the first place.
Right.
So I was hoping to do that in 2021. A lot of my plans in 2020 got thrown for a loop because of the pandemic. So all the events got canceled, the plans I had to try to take things and make deals with stores got canceled. Everything got canceled. So the problem is that I'm worried I don't have the budget for it. I'm going to keep, I'm working on trying to save up for that. But I need to make sure that, like, the finances are in the right place so that the business can stay afloat financially. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I don't have a set thing scheduled just yet, but I will. I'm going to be figuring that out as we go into 2021.
Yeah, I know when we first moved here, I was so excited being in a bigger city because we moved right at the end of summer in 2019 here to Seattle. So I was like, oh, I can spend 2020 and I can go to the independent bookstores and really get a connection going with people and stuff. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and everything shut down. It's like, well, okay. I'm moving 2021, so let's just throw that into the ringer. That'll be a couple years down the line. But yeah, I get having to have the money to get it going. That's when you have something like that where you have the stuffed animals with the books, it's kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. So how did you go from self-publishing to getting your small press? Did you contact them or did they reach out to you?
So that's an interesting story. Actually, again, this has to do with the networking thing. So when I was, for the past 5 years, one of my jobs has been that I write for a music magazine. And so this magazine, which has been active for about 13 years, decided recently to expand into the book publishing world. So I just contacted my boss and I was like, I got a book if you want one to publish. It's like, because they started publishing books that have like a music element to them. I was like, this book has a musical element to it if you're interested. And so we talked about it and then we just decided to do it. And she sent me a contract. So it wasn't the stereotypical like querying and pitch letters and sample chapters. It was more of like, I already had a relationship with the publisher kind of thing when she started to found this press. So yeah. It's not a typical situation, but a lot of times things, there's like, oh, this is the set way things are done. But a lot of times you'll find if you there's other ways to get to the same end goal. Yeah.
And I will say, I knew a little bit about your background just from watching your videos and stuff and you talking about it, but you have probably the most unconventional way of how you got into everything. Like writing for the magazine and your humongous month of getting married and everything that was happening at that same month. Like, I know what it's like to have that much in 1 month, but throw a wedding in there too. I'm just like,
it was unintentional. I did not mean to start a business, start grad school, and get married in the same month. But it happens.
That is how it happens, though.
What happens? Yeah.
And so it goes to how you are and how weird life can be. Like, you start one thing on a roll and then you've already got this other thing going and it's like, well, guess this is happening, So I think that adds to your creativity, actually, like, because you've thought so far out of the box that anything is possible.
I didn't even realize I was that much outside of the box. I guess I'm just like, I don't know, I'm doing things the way they're like things, I don't know.
Well, not as many people
try to figure out how to reach it.
Not as many people are as confident as you to do more networking than, because we are all the internet generation now. And like I myself am a little out of the box in that, like, I actually went to a self-publishing company because the internet was not what it was. So telling people out there, there's things like that, like paying people to self-publish your book. Like, well, why didn't you just KDP? It's like, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I love how much the publishing industry has diversified in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see just like how like KDP is available now, draft to digital, like there's all these services. And then on top of that, it's like you could do what I do and just be like, okay, I'm just going to do like, I'm going to found my own business. I'm going to get these books printed. I'm going to sell them on my website. Like you could do that too. Like you could do whatever you want. And it's the internet makes it possible. And I think it's so cool.
Yeah. And I think for people like me who was, okay, I've only got this way to do it in the beginning. It's hard to then go, I don't have to do that anymore. Like this was the set way and it's not that way anymore. So you just kind of like bucked tradition then and kept going. So I think that it's inspiring in itself, you know, for people who say that they want a traditional, but there's the gatekeepers and, you know, their story may not be good enough. So then they decide to self-publish thinking that it's not as good. But then there's people like you and I who I've tried it and decided to go the other way. And then you went the other way first and now you're going traditional. Like it's a weird, different element to the ways you can go even in the writing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of if my negative comments on YouTube are anything to go by, I think people have this misconception that I'm like intentionally non-traditional or that like I am intentionally trying to be rebellious or so. It's like, no, I just like as a person, I just don't think that. I guess I've always had like a healthy amount of social unawareness, if that makes sense. Like I am a little bit oblivious to things sometimes, so I don't always pick up on what the social conventions are. So I just get an idea in my head and I just try to figure out the way to do it. And people are like, "Oh, that was such a cool and non-traditional way to do." I'm like, I didn't even think about that, but like that's cool. So I guess my best advice is just like, just don't even pay attention. I feel like telling people not to pay attention to their surroundings is bad advice because I walk into walls sometimes and I trip over things. But at the same time, I guess I come up with out-of-the-box ideas.
And it's, like I said, if I had known how, like, I've never gone on a Kickstarter. I've done a couple GoFundMe for friends and stuff. But, like, I had an idea for doing indie self-publishing little subscription boxes a couple years ago and didn't know how to go about doing it and didn't have the funds. And then a couple months ago, somebody finally did it. I'm like, I'm glad somebody figured it out because
the indie bookworm box?
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I did an unboxing video to that. I was like one of the first people to subscribe to that. I was so excited.
I messaged her and I'm like, I'm so glad somebody else thought of this because I had no idea how to start the capital. I was raising money to move, not to start this business. So I may not be the first to do it now, but at least I know there are people that are thinking about that. And so when I do get set to where I can do it, like maybe I can contact her and be like, okay, so what'd you do for this? Because like I have no clue.
Exactly. Oh, it's great because she was contacting me, asking me about like for advice on packaging and things like that. We're all in this entrepreneurial community together. Like we should all. And then like when she was talking to me about her packaging and how she was doing it, I started getting new ideas for my own packaging in my head, which were completely different than her ideas, but I was just getting me thinking on packaging again. Yeah. And then I ended up like finding all those cake boxes on a restaurant retailer. And it's like, you know, sometimes you just got to talk to everyone, talk out your ideas. Everyone will come up with something cool in the end.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't have the capital, and it didn't even occur to me for a Kickstarter or anything like that, and trying to get that going.
Yeah.
Like, guess this is just something I'll have to wait on, you know, and just kind of wrote it off. But like with you, you're like, nope, this is what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna figure it out, and it's gonna happen. And again, it's just a different way of life.
For Kickstarter too, is like I was a film major in college, so I was surrounded by Kickstarters constantly. Every like third person I met was Kickstart funding their indie film. So I was just like constantly, everyone has Kickstarter or various crowdfunding, GoFundMe or Seed and Spark or just all of them. People were constantly posting them on social media and telling people about them. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so I got to know it a little bit through seeing so many people trying to fund their movies. So after a while, I was like, I should try this for books. I started looking in the publishing category on Kickstarter, and I just thought it was fantastic that so many people were using this essentially as like a pre-order system to fund the production of the book. I loved it. I was like, yeah, I should do this.
Yeah, I think now that I've read your book and I'm trying to create like a 5-year plan around us moving and things so that I can use what you've taught me with what I already know to make everything I want to have happen. So I'm like, okay, we're going to create the plan, the 5-year plan, and then we're going to create the business plan. And I'm just so glad that you have that in the book to be like, here's how I did it, so that, like I said, I can do less research and have the most potential to get what I want out there, because I think my idea will be great for people. And without your book, it would be a lot more researching and probably a lot less figuring out what I was doing. But I do want to ask, is there anything that maybe you didn't put in the book or that you've thought about since the book that you would have changed in your process?
That's interesting. I guess like there's more. Maybe I'll have to do a sequel at some point, because there's new things that have happened and that I've done since then that have added new things to it. So like, for example, one big thing being the pandemic. I addressed it in the book a little bit, but I had written the book originally during NaNoWriMo 2019, so I wrote it before any of that hit. And then, I included it in the chapter about getting a loan, because I had been considering applying for a business credit card or a line of credit or a loan, and I was thinking, okay, I can pay this back before the interest hits, it'll be fine. But then in the end I decided not to do it, and then I look back, I'm like, oh, I'm grateful, because COVID hit. I would not have been able to pay that back before the interest hit, because the interest would be hitting right in the middle of this pandemic. So that's kind of what I talked about with like an unforeseen circumstance kind of thing. But I would probably write about trying to adapt a business to the pandemic. I made a couple YouTube videos about like the things that I did to grow my online presence. I'd probably add also about hiring employees, because I have just hired some new people. Like last month, I just brought on a couple new people for some things for like web development and web content writing, SEO and that kind of thing, and for social media promotion. For a while I was trying to do everything myself because that was most cost efficient, but at the same time it's like, okay, I'm spending so much time trying to learn how to do these things, and I can't do them as well as someone who actually knows how to do them. And now that I have some budget, I can pay people for this. So I'd probably write about finding employees and that kind of thing as well. But if I ever do a follow-up to it, I'll probably wait until I've had more experience working with employees to write about that kind of like management aspect, which I'm still new to. Other than that, I think in the year of 2020, I worked on a lot of editions that were things I 3D printed and things like that. So I would probably talk a little bit about creating new packaging, because at the beginning of 2020 and like up until the book released, my packaging was very basic. And for a long time, I really wanted to have like custom branded boxes and things like that, but they're so expensive to order and I couldn't figure out what to do. And then I went and I found, because I was just searching for I really wanted to get the plushie in a box with a little window on the front so you could see their face through it. I just wanted a nice presentation. And those were expensive, and getting them with custom branding on them was so much more expensive. And then what I eventually did was I found that if I went to a bulk restaurant retailer, I could get cake boxes, because cake boxes were one of the only ones that were tall enough. Like, the length and the width I could find, but a lot of them were short because they were thinking people were going to present clothes or jewelry or something in them. But I'm like, no, I got a whole plushie. But cake boxes were big enough, and they had the little window on the front, I guess, to put your cake in the bakery window. So I ordered a bulk order of those, and then I went and printed our logo as a stencil on the 3D printer, and then I just take a sponge and I paint the logo on every box now. So cool. That's how I ended up just custom branding them myself. It takes a little extra time, but maybe one day when I have the money to buy like a huge bulk order of custom branded boxes, I can do that. So that's probably another thing I'd write about, is like developing packaging and expanding the universe through creating like little accessories to go with the plushies, like the little headphone set. Oh, and we are partnered with a mobile game now, so I would talk a little bit about that too. Yeah, just just on Friday, we had a launch live stream. There's a mobile game called Rescue Pets. And
Nice.
yeah, the developer of the game and I met on Twitter. And the Rescue Pets game is like a little game you play with. It's like a little mobile clicker game where you have a cute little dog and then you buy like in-game assets for the shelter, and then if you do any microtransactions they donate money to the shelter, and they have like a little thing you can read about the dogs that are getting adopted through the game's profits. So we partnered up, and one of the Forever Home Friends characters, Wrigley, is now a playable dog in that game. So
cool.
We've added in like an animated version of her that you can get. And so now it's like with every order, I send a little card with the QR code that people can scan to download the game, and then they can play with Wrigley in the game as well. So that's another thing we've been working on. I'm hoping
you definitely
that in the
have
new
a
year...
book too, right there with all of that.
Oh, that was another thing I was thinking of releasing in 2021 was like a companion workbook to go with it. Because when I did the launch live stream for it, I was asking people like, oh, do people want merch for this book? And a lot of people were like, I'd love like a workbook or like a thing with the fill in the blanks and exercises. And so I'm going to be working on that for 2021. And I think I'm going to give it away to everyone on Patreon, and then also list it on Amazon for like $5 or something. So that's probably what I'm going to do, is create that to go with it. And that'll be a resource.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about the price of customizing boxes, because back when I was thinking about the subscription boxes, I was looking into it, and then I was like, okay, when I rethought about the little box set for the books, just my novels, I was like, okay, well, I don't need as many and I don't need it as colorful. Let's see if I can cut some of the cost down. And it's crazy expensive. Even some of the cheaper ones when you buy in bulk is still outrageously too expensive in my mind. Like I don't know what it costs to make them, but I recycle enough cardboard. Like I need a discount.
Yeah, another thing I've been doing with the boxes for branding is just getting stickers. I found a store on Etsy that does stickers that have like, thank you for shopping small. Please tag us on Instagram. And then you like customize the Etsy sticker with your Instagram handle, and then the Etsy shop ships them to you. So I started like putting those stickers on all the boxes as well. So those kind of things, like, getting the custom printed boxes is a lot. Instead, I would recommend getting plain boxes and then adding things to them yourself. Yeah.
Buying the stickers and putting them on so you can do
Buying stickers. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably the better idea when it comes to cost. Everything you had in the book and everything you've done since I started watching you, like, I already knew a little bit of it, but then your explanation and how you've taken it all further is definitely something that I think, especially going into 2021, that like, you're already at home, why not start investing in yourself by doing the research and using your book and getting it ready so that when the world does open up again, you can just come out with a bang and just get it going and be more networking outside, since we're all going to want to be outside again.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I think I miss most is restaurants. That was the thing, like, I would go out to eat all the time. I was such like a exploring new restaurants kind of person. And the thing I'm saddest about is that I'm pretty sure the arcade in my neighborhood is just done for. I think they tried to stay afloat, but like, as an arcade, they rely on people coming in to use the machines and things like that. And I used to go there like every weekend, and then the pandemic hit, obviously stopped going there. They closed down, but they were still kind of like, temporarily closed. But then within the last month, it's been like the whole store is cleaned out. Like it's so sad. So I'm looking forward to going back out in public, but I'm just sad for the small businesses that couldn't make it through.
Yeah, we're not as locked down as much as some places are, but I definitely don't like having to wear a freaking mask to go in when you're already going to sit down and eat without one. Like, I'll just take it to go for now, I guess. Like, I really want some.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of takeout because I'm like, I want to support all the local restaurants, and I don't really like to cook, so I've just been buying a lot of takeout and bringing it home, and I've not been like I'm looking forward to when it's safe again to go and sit down at a restaurant, but I'm like, no, this is too scary. I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah. Now, but what would be like advice you would give to other people who are just starting out that hasn't read your book yet, other than you need to go read the book because it's going to help you? What's some advice you'd give maybe to the 5 to 10 years younger version of you just starting your business?
Oh, that's a good question. 5 to 10 years younger. So, okay, let's say
because you're younger than me.
18 to 23 right now. Honestly, let's see. I would probably tell younger Savvy to get on the internet sooner. Just because like I was always like a few steps behind technologically. Took me a long time to get on the smartphone train. It took me a long time, even though I was in high school when social media started becoming a big thing. Still took me a while to want to join social media because I was always like, no, I miss calling and talking to people on the phone. I miss calling people on the landline phone. I love doing that. I was like, I was always like, I want to be retro to a fault. And as a result, I was behind on it. So I would be like, Savvy, you need to get on the internet, start a blog, start a YouTube channel. I mean, when the year YouTube first started, which was 2005, I was 13 years old and I was making stop motion videos with my Barbies, or like my cousins and I would like make stop motion little videos. We're like, where do we even put these? Like YouTube had just started. I could have put it on there and gotten big at the beginning, but I didn't even think of it because I'm just like, oh, I don't know about the internet. I'll burn it onto a DVD and then put it in the closet. Like, why would I do that? So I would be like, Savvy, you need to get on the internet. You already make movies and videos. Put them on YouTube. Like, make a Twitter. I know you don't want to. I know you want to pretend you're above all the social media craze, but you're not, and it's coming and you have to accept it. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, I think that's where I was. Like, I was in the military when YouTube came out. So for 8 years, I was doing my thing and running a farm. I had no idea what YouTube was. It was very rarely mentioned in my circle until it got big. And it was like, why didn't I think of this? Like, so with everybody around you that has helped you and along the way and supports you, who or what do you think has been the most influential to your success other than your outgoing personality?
In terms of other people, I would say my mom has been a huge supporter. I mean, from the beginning, she believed in this business, and like my mom and I would talk about ideas for like, oh, what if we had a rescue dog related book? What if we had a plushie? Like we'd talk about this like as a potential thing throughout our life. And then when I finally committed to doing it, like she's been there to help from the beginning. Every single event that I would go to, she would come with me. My mom has so many years of she was an event planner for a long time, so she had all that experience with setting up a nice display and, you know, getting everything organized to do all these events and everything. So just her knowledge and her commitment to helping with this and like believing in the entirety of it has been so necessary. Like having other people support you is it just takes a whole obstacle out of it, because you know that you have someone else who is, you know, I don't know, supportive, someone else who is going to help you when you're struggling with something. She's been hugely influential for that. So if you read the acknowledgements page, my mom has like a whole page of like, you made this possible. My husband Tyler has been really amazing throughout all of this, because, you know, like I said, when I married him, the same month I was starting this business and going to grad school, I was working like 95, 100-hour weeks, and like he never saw me and I never did anything useful in the house. Like I didn't clean anything for like a year, and so he had to do everything, and he was just like great person about all of it, because he was like, I can tell that this business you're running is cool and is going to be important and things like that. And he's just like was so supportive the whole way through. So having a spouse in your life who is on board with your business's mission and like isn't just like, okay, I'll go along with it because it's what you want, but like genuinely is like, yeah, I think this is a good idea and it's going to be awesome. I think that's really important also. So just some of those people close to me in my life have been really helpful along the way.
Yeah, I think a support system is really important.
Yeah.
So that group of people in your corner is definitely amazing. Glad you have that. Now, because you also do your own novels instead of just the Forever Home, what is a big myth of self-publishing, or now that you're going traditional as well, that you just wish would like get debunked into extinction, like you wish did not exist?
I would say, I think the biggest myth out there is that self-publishing and traditional publishing is a hard binary. I would say that that is the biggest myth, because there are so many different ways to approach getting a book into the world. So for example, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, are you going the traditional publishing or self-publishing route? And it's like, it's trying to fit everything into those two boxes. One, leads to a lot of misconceptions about what you're actually going to be doing when you do that thing. And two, it keeps you from thinking outside into new ways you can accomplish something. So when I run my business, like I have people ask me sometimes, you know, Forever Home Friends, are these books traditionally published or self-published? And I'm like, I guess technically self-published because I run the company that put them out. But like, I guess that's like saying my stuffed animals are self-published. Like everything in this business is just a product. And
Yeah.
it's like they're books, but like I'm treating these books as part of something larger. So,
Right.
But trying to break out of that binary helped with that. Like I know my friend on YouTube, A.G. McDonald, he does animation for his channel. And like a year ago, he put out this series that he wrote this series and got people on other YouTubers to do voice acting for it and put that out on his channel. And he's like, it wasn't really a TV show. It was more like an audio book. So it's like, is that published? I would say so.
Yeah.
It's like, is that self-published? I guess it's put out on YouTube. It's like, well, what does publishing mean? Does it mean you bought an ISBN number? Like, do you need a barcode for something to be published? Or do you just need it publicly available for consumption?
Right.
Do you need to be getting payment for it? Like, what does it mean? And I think that it means whatever your end goal is. So I would say just not looking at things as like, there's two ways to put your story out there. No, there's infinite ways to put your story out there. Maybe maybe self-publishing, like by putting something up on Kindle, is the way to do it. Maybe querying an agent and getting a publisher is the way for you to do it. But maybe something else completely different is the way for you to do it too. And just don't close yourself off to like thinking about the infinite possibilities and letting your imagination run wild with all the different ways that a book could exist.
Right. And you're right. Like, you're a company and your books and your plushes are part of a company. So why is that still considered self? Why is it traditional? Why is it anything? Why put it in a box?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think when self-publishing first came out, that was a thing that was the easiest way to identify one versus the other. But now, like, I created my own company to publish my books under, which a lot of people self-publishing are doing, but I actually want to make that a publishing house once I get settled. I want to.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and so I technically am self-published right now, but I'm a company that wants to and is still working towards getting started. So is that technically self-publishing, or is that a small press? Just
and to an extent, it's like, why does anyone even need to categorize any of it? Like, it's not useful. I was reading this book about about founding a small press, and in it was talking about like, readers don't care about publishers. Only authors and publishers care about publishers. Like, and that's the truth. Like, I never if I am interested in a book, I don't pick it up and be like, who published this first?
Right.
Unless like I'm trying to research it to make a point about the publishing industry or something. But if I'm just reading for fun, I'm not going to be like, which of these imprints published this? Which company? Like, who owns what? Like, as a reader, solely as a consumer, that's not something anyone's thinking about. Yeah. So it's like, why even need to categorize anything in a certain way? It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And I think the only reason that authors care is because we want to get into the traditional stores, and you can't go to a Walmart or Barnes & Noble and just pick up a self-published book. So that's the only reason I think we even care about it.
Yeah, and now that the pandemic's hit, I don't think we even need to care about that anymore. And I know that's like a sad thing to say. Like, I do, like, I am grateful for any bookstores that are surviving through this. And my rule in general, because I try to support a small business whenever I can. So my rule in general is like, if this book is like a big bestseller and is in all the bookstores, I will order it through a local bookstore. If the book is not available through stores, then I'll buy it through Amazon because I want to support the author either way. So that's kind of how I judge that. But I think like there's a huge boom in ebooks right now. There's a huge boom in online sales and selling online. And I think for a while, at least, that's going to be the way that things continue to go. So to an extent, I'm not even worried about not having my books in a store.
Well, and even
some of them are in stores too. Like Forever Home Friends is in a couple stores.
Yeah. Well, and even when you go to Amazon, you can still choose to buy used from other places to support that store.
That's true.
I buy from Amazon all the time, but I don't think I ever buy from exactly Amazon unless it's something that nobody else has or it's gonna cost way too much to ship. So that's another way during all this to still support, even if you can't go to your local one, because that way they're still getting stuff out even if they're not open.
Yeah, and a lot of smaller bookstores have an online ordering system on their site. Not all of them do, but some in Chicago, like when I've wanted a new book that's like, okay, this book I know is like a big bestseller and it's in pretty much every bookstore. So I'll order this from my local bookstore because it's like they're still trying to operate, and with people not coming in because of the pandemic, I want them to survive this because it's important. All small businesses are important. So I want them to survive this. So I will order it from them. Versus if it's like a smaller author or a newer author, someone I might download on Kindle or I might order on Amazon but a lot of times I'll try to order, like some authors, and I do this as well, sell books directly through their website. So often I'll do that too, because it's like, then I can also get it like signed by you and stuff.
Yeah. And see, and that's even something that, because I have had one book out for now a couple years since the pandemic made the second one wait for a little while, like I'm just now getting my website up to sell the book, and I have a form you have to fill out to get it signed. Like that's still stuff I'm figuring out 2 books in. I'm just now going wide because I didn't realize that I couldn't when I was on the KDP Select. Like even though I've started and I've been around a while, I'm still learning. And so I think, you're talking about coming out with a book too. Like, not only are you doing more things, but you're learning while you're doing it. So I'm going to go yes for a book.
Right.
We need that.
Okay, maybe it'll be like book 2, because like this one is like, starting your business the first year or so, and the next one is like, oh, here's how I expanded and scaled my business and things like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, especially during a pandemic, like you have to cut some things back, but then some things you're still able to go through with. For me, I didn't have the range and the money, and I wasn't far enough along to hire people. So I just hired one company that says, you know how to do this, and you're expanding, and you're getting all the people that know how to do what I need to know how to do. So I'm just going to let you do all of this.
I guess that's another misconception. I don't have a problem with self-publishing companies either. I guess when people talk about vanity presses, I do have a problem with companies that are like, you're going to pay us and we're going to take a royalty percentage. It's like, no, that's not cool. But I don't have a problem with companies that are like, you pay us, we'll do cover design, formatting, and printing, and then you can sell it and keep all the rights, you keep all the royalties. I have no problem with that. That's essentially hiring someone it's the same thing, Yeah. So I feel like those companies end up getting a bad reputation sometimes, and that's not fair to them because they are providing a service that people want and allowing the author to keep all of their rights, which is important. So that's another thing. I don't think those companies are a problem at all.
Well, and it's saving you time to be able to do more things. Like, I did all the book side of my stuff, but when it comes to the physical things of the marketing, like, not that technology sufficient because I was in the military.
Yeah,
when
me
all this
either.
was
I
growing.
struggle still. Yeah.
Like, I took an 8-year hiatus when all this was expanding, and I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know the technical side of it, so I'm going to hire somebody that does to give myself more room to work on the importance. So
yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, so it's nice that you're doing that even during the pandemic, since you can't expand on other things. I think that's awesome. Now I have my last question is my signature question. What is a favorite book that you have that's been turned into a movie or show, and which one do you like more?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my goodness.
I feel like it reveals a little bit about the author.
That's been turned into a movie or show, and which do I like more? I will say I know that the movie or the book Let It Snow, that was like the combination book of John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. I love that book. I know it's been turned into a show on Netflix, and I haven't watched it out of fear that I'm not going to like it as much as I like the book. So I'm like closed myself off from it. So that's like a recent one I can think of.
You're the first one I've heard that says they haven't watched it because they're afraid of which one they'll do.
I watched it because I liked the book too much. So that's one thing. I'm trying to think of something else.
Another first for Savy.
I feel like that's the problem is lately I read mostly books that my friends have written, and none of them have been turned into movies. Most
right?
books I read are not movies. So the book, I know Love, Simon, Becky Albertalli, that was turned into a movie recently. I saw the movie. I liked parts of the book better and parts of the movie better. I think the book as a whole made a lot more sense than the movie did. The movie like adapted things in a way that was like I think more visually interesting, but like took a lot of some of the tension out of the book and stuff. No, exactly. But there were things I liked about the style of the movie and how it was like reminiscent of like 1980s John Hughes teen things kind of, but I liked the book better. I'm trying to think, is there an example where I've liked the movie better? I'm sure there is somewhere. I'm sure there is.
Yeah. No, I've definitely
I love movies too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I haven't watched TV or a movie in so long I couldn't tell you anything current.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like nothing I ever read is ever turned into movies or shows or anything. Wonder why. That's probably because I read like a hipster too much. I'm always reading, oh, this book no one's heard of. The book is so indie, my friend put it out. And that's I mean, most of what I read, to be honest.
And it is harder to find indie films, so maybe it has been and it just hasn't gotten to you yet.
Love in the future, like that's a future thing I would love to do is like, you know, indie book and indie movie crossovers. Like I would love to produce and like, because I used to direct movies all the time in college, and I want to do more of it. And it's part of me is like I want to turn a book into a movie, like an indie book into an indie movie. That'd be so cool. And I've considered that for like the book Cancel Sean Boston that RK and I are writing, because it's like in that book almost everything almost exclusively takes place through online drama, so we could almost just make like a playlist of YouTube videos as the movie adaptation of it, which would be kind of fun. Like I think that would be fun. So we've talked about it. We've considered doing that and like each playing the character that we're writing the perspective of and things like that. So I don't know, maybe we will. That could be fun.
And it's not like 2020 and 2019 for that matter didn't have enough YouTube drama. So
right,
to take from.
And so it's like we'll have a little bit of fictional YouTube drama. Why not? But I've always thought of that. There was a time when when I've considered turning books that I've written into movies. If that might be a thing that I do in the future. I don't know.
Now we'll definitely have to have you on when Cancel Sean Boston does come out, so I can see how you and him are so goofy together on camera. So.
We have a fun time on our streams.
I'm really interested because, you know, with Lauren and her sister writing a book, that was the family dynamic. So now I need to know the friend dynamic when the book comes out, like what y'all went through off camera instead of on, and how that works. So I will definitely have to have you. I feel
like there's going to be, like, the thing is we do the entire book writing process on camera. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we thought it would be fun because then it would be like there's a full documentation of this book from start to finish, from the conception of the idea through the publication. And it's all been documented. We thought that would be kind of fun to have a whole series for that.
I knew y'all wrote on stream and stuff, but I didn't know you only did it on.
Yeah, we've done all of our outlining. We did on streams before NaNoWriMo, all of the everything.
Awesome. I did not know that. I figured you had some back and forth off camera with.
Well, yeah, I mean we were friends, so we talk all the time about other things.
But I meant the writing,
not usually about the book. I mean, I guess we've talked a little bit about making videos about it and stuff, but for the most part, we've only worked on the book itself on streams. And that's made it efficient. Like, I almost forgot that I was doing NaNoWriMo, which is wild, because normally NaNoWriMo is, like, the most exciting, like, the oh my god, I have to write all these words this month. But it was, like, we had all these scheduled streams, and we only did it there, and so I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm doing NaNoWriMo this month, but it's, like, not even stressing me out, because I have time scheduled, and we just do that, and then the rest of the day I don't think about it.
See, and I was on almost every day of the month with Meadow Lamoureux from Rose City Editing, and we wrote, it didn't feel like you were doing Nano because you were streaming every night and you were just there like normal, you know?
Yeah.
That might be the way to go.
So I'm going to try to write a lot more things in the new year too, so we'll see if I can keep that pace up.
All right, well, I will let you go, but before I do, tell everybody where they can find you and where you live most often on the social.
So the most common social media I use is YouTube. So I'm on the YouTube channel, Savy Writes Books. You can find me there. So that's the most common place I am. Other than that, I use Twitter a lot. I'm Savy Lizer on Twitter. It's just my name. Or you could just search Savy Writes Books, because that's like my name, not my like handle, but the like name I have on Twitter. So I have that there as well. You can check out foreverhomefriends.com. That's my website for my small business. That's me.
All right, and I will have all of that down below for you watching it on YouTube in the description. And for those of you listening, it will be in the show notes for you to find later. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad you decided to do this. And
yay! Thank you for inviting me. I love doing podcast interviews. I think these are so fun.
Well, like I said, after I already wanted to interview you, and I've got like a 2-page list of people I want to interview. But then after I read the book, it was like, there's so much that starting the year, I want, first off, people to buy the book because you lie. It is motivational. It is. You may not have wanted it to be, but it is. It's a
well, I'm glad it had that effect. I am glad, yeah.
I just think it's not maybe motivational because you try to make it be, but because you give such an honest roadmap. And for somebody like me who values honesty above all else, like,
I'm the same way, yeah.
It was refreshing.
Yeah. Good. I'm so glad. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I said I think if we were neighbors, we'd be friends, because I'd bounce my confidence off you and you'd build me up on that. And then,
we'd be great neighbors.
Yeah. It's just definitely wanted to have you on for the new year to help everybody else get motivated and feel great about the year instead of, oh no, it's another part of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe encourage everybody to, while we're in this stuck at home status limbo, we can get ready and just us expound upon it and take on the networking and the life in Storm. So thank you for coming, and hopefully we have inspired people to do it all. So until next time, happy writing and happy life, guys. Bye.
Bye, friends.
Hi, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Afterthought Podcast. I am your host, Amber Craft, and if you'd like to actually be a guest, all of my information to contact me is down below in the show notes in the description. Don't forget that we post every second Saturday of the month, so make sure you are subscribed so that you get the notification for that. And if you go over to my website, amberscraft.com, you can also see who is coming next, who the lineup is, so that you don't miss out on anything. Until next time, guys, happy life, happy writing. Bye now.